So I'd like to call to order to Mark, Park and Rec meeting for Atherton. Can I get a roll call, Will? Thank you.
Member Hunter,
Here.
Chair Key,
Here.
Member Keller.
Here.
Online?
Well,
Okay.
he's a member of the public.
Yeah, member Public. Member Merrill, not here. Member Robertson.
Here.
Vice Chair Robinson,
Here.
and Member Rozier. And Council Liaison DeGolia.
Okay, are there any public comments? I don't see any in person, online. Are we have any public comments?
Nothing on.
Nothing online, okay. Approval of minutes. So you were given the minutes from February. Are there any comments or corrections that are of note? If none, may I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Second? I suppose I could second.
Okay.
So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or nays? Seeing none, approved unanimous. No presentations, so let's move to the regular agenda. So the first item, which I guess I'm supposed to have a report, but I don't think I do, is the main house and carriage house renovation. So I think this was from our discussion last month, in which we were talking about, say, possibly having security cameras in the main house, as well as what was shared with the committee, I think by email, all of you should have gotten, was the proposal that the Dames had many years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, on renovating the carriage house and their ideas and an estimate of cost. By now is probably very different, but they had some ideas of what they wanted to do to improve the carriage house. So we can go one by one, or however you guys want to do it. If we want to discuss carriage house, do we want to discuss carriage house first?
Seems to me that we have a couple of decisions to make. One, do we want to pursue this by going to that architect and explaining that perhaps, definitely, we would want a much more limited proposition, which would be the ground floor, and trying to see what the proposal might be. As you can see, I did circulate the plans I found. At that point, I think we should go to council and we should ask for funding. We talked about this with our liaison council representative at the foundation meeting recently. And that was his, he agreed with that. About having his views be put out, as you're not supposed to, I guess. But anyway, I think we would need some funding there. When this was proposed before, the Atherton Dames were very active and were prepared to fund part of this. And I don't think that's possible now from us, although we could certainly, on the foundation, do some relatively minor contribution compared to what the cost would be. I think if I understand the process, we'd be getting in line for the future as far as any substantial money from the committee, from the council, which could well be $1 million or more. So that's what I would think we might be looking at.
So the request to council is to have an updated set of plans, a more limited set of plans?
Exactly. That's what I would think.
And then the council will probably ask kind of what the vision is for why we're spending the money.
Right.
And is it to increase the usage of the carriage house, or?
No, it's to preserve and improve what is, as somebody just argued in our last session, the most important thing we have in the town, a jewel of the town. And yes, to make that more usable, if you walk in, it still looks like a barn. And as we say, we have square dancing, have some things there. I think we'd have a lot more. We did that, a lot more usage by, now I see, Atherton residents, which is what we want. That would be the concept. Now, the same theory is why we did the water tower. why have we spent the money on all of the, such as we have, on these landmarks that we have in this town?
Are there any other comments?
Got a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
So I think that there's a very significant difference between preserving and improving. And the water tower is obviously 100% preserving.
Except that it really needs to be painted if you really want to preserve.
Well,
preserve it.
no, but any work we've done on the water tower in the last 20 years and any work we would do on the water tower in the next few years is all about preserving, right? Not improving. The carriage house is a different animal because the carriage house is used by some people for meetings or square dancing or other activities. And there is a potential difference between preserving and improving at the carriage house, because to preserve it, I mean, it is a barn. And to preserve it is to, make it so the building lasts whatever, another 100 years. Improving it, we've seen lots of older buildings get improved, quote unquote, and for use. And I think the committee needs to give some thought to the difference between those two.
I see it as a combination of the water tower and the main house. Main house, we really are adapting to use. Really never was designed that way. Barn wasn't designed for groups other than maybe horses and cows. So that's the way I would see it. I guess I'm looking at the last historical part of the park that we thought we might be able to do, contrary to more modern things like bathrooms and playgrounds.
So what type of, go ahead, Robert.
Thank you, Chair. Just going to give some points of thought
Sure.
as you have this conversation. I certainly agree with the need to maintain and preserve the water tower. That is something that we need to do, and there are some noted deficiencies that need to be repaired. With regards to the carriage house, there has been on the books, and we hope to get to updating the bathrooms. But rather than focusing on what should be done to the building, perhaps the conversation should be, how should the building be used? Because that's going to be the foundation for what needs to be done, or what could be done, et cetera. And it'll lead into the conversation that will be forthcoming with regards to the master plan. And so the focus on use of the park and use of the facilities really will help shape that potential vision. Because if the vision is, well, upstairs is predominantly storage, but there was some talk years ago about maybe it being a venue for potential board meetings and other things.
There's no handicap access.
And so it would require putting in an elevator and various other things. Well, I'm not going to say what should or shouldn't be done, but it's really what the vision of using the facility is, which will help guide what kind of improvements potentially should be considered by the council for.
Which dovetails into the new company, catering and events company, because it could be used for other things, and that might be part of the marketing plan.
When are we doing the master plan of the park?
So I believe it's forecasted for the coming year's budget.
Next year, not this year.
When you say next year, you mean
27-8.
27, 28, okay.
So
So in a year and a half.
So that's, we've spent quite a bit of money already, and we have a lot of money planned to be spent over the next year. Over the summer, to do the improvements that are on the books.
Okay.
And so
In the park.
in the park, right, the playground and the bathrooms and that kind of thing. And so the question is that, okay, well, the benefit of the master plan is to help us guide where our expenditure should be moving forward as we complete this. So like I said, I think my recommendation is think about how the park is used, how we want that building to be used potentially to help guide, rather than just asking for money for an architect to design something. It's better to understand how you want to use it so that you can help focus that conversation.
Yeah.
So it's just a suggestion.
Yeah, if it's I'm thinking this similarly, if it's a big renovation, we should probably wait for the master plan, but if it's something where we're preserving some of the facilities where it's not gonna cost a lot of money, then we get
Yeah.
consider.
So there are maintenance activities that are planned and I think we'll talk about them later on. That some input from the committee will be needed, like the light, I'll use one example, is the light fixtures in there. It is a dark
Yeah, it's
facility.
pretty dark.
And that is something that needs to be updated. We're
Okay.
working on getting some ideas, but it's those kinds of little things that aren't really a big expense that we can do some things with. But if you're talking about a large
Have you seen the coast
renovation,
lighting quote?
huh?
The coast lighting quote?
For the pavilion? Yes. So,
Well, my thought was, Robert, I agree totally, but this sort of horse is out of the barn already. I mean, they did a lot of work, a lot of work, so many years ago. So they had it really designed. And now our view is that was gonna be a $2 or $3 million project. That is, we don't see that now because all that's realistic. So the elevator, all that stuff, we don't need. But there's a lot of thought. And the Atherton Dames had, as I say, the plans already drawn up. They got postponed because of this town center right here. The money had to be used for that rather than for the other. So, whatever the concept was then, my view was the concept hasn't changed. But I think the caterer information is really important. I think we ought to view them. They're the people that should know how they entertain. Although I don't think they entertain too much maybe inside. But anyway, I agree. I think with Robert's right. We have to take this in 2 or 3 steps. And I would never envision asking the council to put up a substantial amount of money until probably 27, 28, seemed to me to be the time. And that might be when we're doing the master plan anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe it all fits together. I would like some money for exploratory work with the architect. It seems to me, I'd like to have what their concept was. How did they end up doing it the way they did? Why were they picked? Because they did Wonderlic and great at restoring old facilities. Just to see what's there. Maybe they don't even do this anymore. We ought to find out. So.
When does the events and catering company, where are they up and running, where are they already?
we're gonna. better. I
Oh,
think it's
okay.
on the agenda.
So, yeah, so, since go ahead, Ricky.
If you look on the facility rentals for February 26th, but it goes back to October. The carriage house is not rented very often. And no, I'm not here every day, but I'm here at the parking lot, at the art room. And I can attest to only one group using it periodically, and that's a children's drama group. And I think I have seen it used a couple times for Celebration of Lights, but it's not a real commonly actively used building. And so I think we have to put in that into the cost perspective too, or is it because it's
I think it's
dark?
I think it's.
And whether we want to attract more.
But then let's go on the premise, we have updated the main house and we've updated the pavilion and see how that goes once we get an event plan. To see if the revenue is up to.
That and whether our changes have contributed
Right,
to increasing that.
to, right, and
If not,
then,
we have to rethink maybe doing something.
right,
different.
even doing anything.
That's not a good idea. Okay. So I think for now, maybe we kind of wait and see, although Will, we should probably schedule the caterer to come talk to us either next month or the month after. By then, they should probably have a good feel for the venues, and then they can talk to us about their plans. And we can introduce ourselves and they can introduce themselves. Go ahead, Rick.
So let me give you a couple thoughts that are probably more my thoughts, but and I'm not sharing them to give direction to the committee, just to kind of give you some insight into what I'm thinking. Number one, I think that Robert's comments are very well taken. I think you need to think about who would use this facility and what it would be used for. I think asking the council for $1 million is a big request. And we're putting almost 2 million, maybe more than $2 million into the playground and the bathrooms and general maintenance. And I think that the council, my guess is the council's gonna be reluctant to throw a substantial amount of money at the carriage house right now, and would probably wanna wait until the master plan is done. But I don't know, because I haven't talked to anybody about it, other than I had a brief conversation with Bill, who's supportive of it. The way I look at it is I look at the carriage house in kind of 5 parts. I look at the large room, which includes the light fixtures, which is the room that's the most useful. And I think that room, particularly with lighting improvement, could be made more useful than it is now. And I think that if you're gonna do that, we have to upgrade the bathrooms, because the bathrooms are a disaster. And that's, I kind of look at the bathrooms as separate from that large room, but if you know, I think they go hand in hand. Separately, I think about the kitchen. I don't know how important the kitchen is, but I think in the course of thinking about this facility, there's a big potential upgrade to the kitchen if we need the kitchen. I don't know that we do. I think it necessitates who would use the facility.
Ask the caterer.
And yeah, and I think that's a question for the caterer. I agree with that. But I'm just saying, I think that's a separate decision that's connected. The other two, that's 3. The 4th area for me is the horse stalls. And, you know, they've been used to store junk in for more than 10 years. And if anything were going to be preserved for what it had been, that's the area that is the most interesting in my mind, because it relates to horses, which obviously use that. And right now, they need work, but I don't think they're gonna be used by anybody. So how important that is has to be assessed. And then finally, the 5th area is the upstairs. And I consider the upstairs really the barn, and not very useful. I mean, yeah, we use the big room for storage. We gotta control rats, and make sure things don't fall down, like the roof falling in, and I think that's all appropriate. But, you know, at one point, we thought about using the little rooms upstairs for police or for other people that could stay in. I don't see that as being useful. And I think there's a bathroom upstairs that's worthless. I don't see improving those as a use of funds that makes any sense, although I've listened to somebody who had a different opinion. But that's how I look at that facility. And what the Dames did was dramatic. It was, it was projected in the low millions of dollars. I think it's probably, to do what they were talking about, it's probably 3 times now what they were talking about. And I mean, they were building a whole structure on the side of the building that's as you face the building to the right of the building where the play school is. And that assumed the play school was going to be torn down. And I mean, they dramatically changed both the exterior and interior of the building. And I just, I can't see that happening.
I'll open it up for public comment, if there's any public comment. If there's none, then.
Could I ask, Robert, with all our contacts now having got into this with contractors for your playground and so on, why can't we get a contractor to come in, somebody who we're giving a contract to for something else and say, do a bathroom? Now, we've got guys that are doing bathrooms every day in this community.
There are a few complications. Number one, it is very tiny, very tight, and can't tell you how many folks we've talked to try and come in and design something, because we have to design it and get building permits, and it has to be ADA compliant. So that's been a challenge. We may have another vendor that we can reach out to do that. It is a historic building, so any work in there has to be done to historic preservation standards. And so there's a whole host of additional requirements that fall under that. But the first thing is, I think we had, over the course of the last couple of years, probably about 6 different folks come in and look at it and then walk away. And so the hard part is, well, these are really tiny spaces, and how much realistically is somebody gonna make on it, right? And you're talking like, if you're doing the bathrooms at your house, you're gonna get a nice pretty penny, because you're doing the showers, you're doing all the tiles and everything. These are really tiny spaces. You're talking 1 stall, maybe 1.5 stalls for each unit. But it's gonna have to be done carefully. There isn't much room under the building to make the sewer connections and that kind of thing. So it's not an easy thing.
Can you do cost plus? Or are we
Well,
required to put everything
so-
up to bid?
There's 2 ways to go. And the standard is design, bid, build. The other is trying to find some piggyback mechanism. But to do that, you still kind of need that design. And so there's a vendor that we talked to most recently, we just haven't had enough time to reconnect with them, was they are on a joint procurement type contract, and they have a designer that they use that potentially could help. So we still need to investigate that.
Can that designer work on cost plus, or do you have to get a firm?
Well, the designer's gonna understand the scope and give us a cost to do the design.
Well, once it
So
gets in design.
Once it gets into design, they'll give us an estimate that we would use as the basis of valuing the bid. And if the opportunity is to just piggyback on something and give us the wrong word, but to piggyback on an existing contract to be able to do that.
I was thinking of a guy who's building a bathroom, that's starting very soon.
So keep in mind that we, unlike you, can't just hire anybody. There are requirements for public contracts, and there has to be paid prevailing wages and a host of other things. And so though a contractor does 1 million residential houses and does great work, they may not be registered with the Department of Industrial Relations to be able to do a public contract, because they also have to submit payrolls and a whole bunch of other things that a lot of folks your general contractors don't like.
I was thinking of the playground, the bathroom going in next to the playground.
That is certainly a possibility, because we're gonna have to
Number two,
find somebody to do that.
Somebody did work, obviously, on the Jennings at some point.
Yeah.
As a bathroom.
Both of them.
Yes,
So,
And we asked them to do the carriage house at the same time. They weren't interested.
yeah, well, we had to design the bathrooms for the Jennings Pavilion. And we were able to use one of those pre-qualified piggyback type contractors for the Jennings Pavilion bathrooms. Once we have a design, we will certainly try to do that again.
Okay, so it sounds like the plan is we'll get a design and then
that's the first step.
Okay, and then main house security cameras, so. Was it Dorothy that you wanted to talk about this, the security cameras getting, security cameras for the main house and then?
No, that was brought up by other people. I brought up the issue that of why the artwork has been taken down. And then someone brought up why not security cameras, and got my mouth shut on this.
Okay. Could we have security cameras and inside the main house, but I'm not sure who would monitor them, or we just record them, and then if there's any vandalism, we run the tape and see what happened.
So right now, security cameras at the park and even here at the town center
But not in the
are
outside.
outside, not interior monitoring. That's something new, and everything, all the cameras that we have feed into PD.
Okay.
Um,
And are they constantly recording or?
they are recording, there's a timeline that they record to. I think that having once the event manager is on board, they'll have an office upstairs, they'll be there a couple days a week and be managing the use of the facility. So I think the concerns will be, the need for cameras, I don't think will be as high because there's going to be more active
Oversight.
attendance and oversight.
Okay, is everyone comfortable with that? Okay, why don't we move on to then pickleball and tennis update? I don't know, Don, did you, as a member of the public, did you want to say something about this?
Sure. I think we've got two topics. One is the continued looking at the building of the two new facilities and near the train tracks. And Rick, I don't know if you've got any update on whether we have any progress with a donor or not, but maybe that's the first thing we should talk about. Do you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. It's just low, so Will's just trying to figure out how to increase the volume on the smart board. Yeah, that looks like it's it.
Okay, go ahead, Don.
There's two topics to talk about. One is the potential build out of the two new courts near the train tracks. And I think where that sits is whether we can get a donor or donors. And Rick, I don't know if you've had any opportunity to talk to the potential donor, but that maybe is the first thing we should talk about.
Yeah, I've reached out to her on email and on text, and she hasn't responded to me. So I don't have any new information. I need to try to call her, but I haven't been able to get a hold of her.
That may mean that she's not all that interested, but it's worth continuing to pursue it, I would think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So I guess a related question is whether we should try to come up with other potential donors and approaches to funding this.
Don, are we pretty comfortable with the financial information we have now? As I recall, a little higher cost if we try to move it a little further north.
Yeah, I think moving it further north, I think if we do asphalt, we're at about 250 and that includes some amount of contingency. And cement would be about 300, so it's not cheap. But that's, and I think we're pretty comfortable with that. Although Robert, you may have some views as to whether we're missing something there, but those are the numbers we've gotten from Saviano.
Wait, the minutes from last month when Saviano was here said that 2 asphalt courts, and this would be further to the north, unless I'm misreading it, would be 200,000 and for asphalt and 250 for concrete. And that if they were closer to Felton Gables, it would be 150 and 200.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well, that's what the minutes say.
Okay.
Yeah. And When I just said 250 and 300, I just added 50 of contingency to each.
Yeah, well, the minutes indicate that the 50 added is to 150 and 200, so whatever,
Yeah, it's ballpark too, because Saviano said, it's kind of hard to estimate without getting
yeah,
real measurements, so. he
I
just
gave the
guessed.
donor the range of 200 to 250, but I haven't heard back from her, so. I will call her.
Yeah.
So, so some of the things I've also done a little research on is just looking at how the tennis and program, what the revenue, what our balance is, just looking at the finances, so. The tennis program, or the courts, I should say, bring in 70,000 a year. 50,000 comes from Clear Capital, 20,000, looks like it comes from Keys. And at the end of fiscal year 26, the tennis fund had a net balance of 150K. So should the council choose, we could always tap that as part of the payments, or maybe they want to save it for overage, but I would say that's quite a bit that they have there, and then, 70,000 every year, in which there's probably not a lot of large money needs for the courts every year, other than maybe cleaning, but then that's relatively minor.
Yeah, I
So,
think we used up all that money before, didn't we, by doing,
yeah, doing the resurfacing, but we shouldn't need another resurfacing for another few years, and we have 150K now, and we're getting 70K every year, so that's could be a potential source of funding if we, if we are short our donations, so I'm just kind of thinking here. Then there's also if another consideration is if we want to ever make the clay court a hard court again, to give the hard court tennis key holders another surface to play on. They don't
kind of been through that drill.
I know,
already.
but I'm just saying, it's there, if it as an option, I don't know anyone who likes the clay court other than Michael, and maybe because he rents it out. So that's just some things to think about that, in terms of finances, so, is there anything, Don, you wanted to kind of ask of the committee this month, or?
Well, the only other topic was that we're in the process of talking to Player Capital, or arranging a call with them because they're asking us if they can provide tennis pickleball instruction, and I think that's terrific for them to do that. And I think one of the two people that they have as instructors on their website is a well-known and well-regarded instructor in the community. I think the only thing that we just need to work out with them is how much training, and just to make sure we're not crowding out others. And so I think the initial discussion will be along the lines of, yes, let's do some training. Let's not do it during the most busiest times, which is Saturday morning and Sunday. And then in other times, let's start with maybe the use of 2 courts at a time, as opposed to anything beyond that. And anything beyond that may suggest that there would be, camps or some sort of larger groups. And because we don't really have yet a lot of data on usage, I think the thought is to start with basically allowing their 2 instructors to use the courts as needed.
Might I suggest a conversation with the subcommittee and staff, because the council has already opined on lessons, and there are some guidelines and limitations that have already been established.
Okay.
There is an opportunity for lessons. And so we could just go over that rather than you talking. So the message is consistent in terms of that conversation with Player Capital. I'd suggest having having the subcommittee meet with staff
Sure.
to talk about that.
Sure, Don, if you want to talk with Will and or Robert about that. I think the main question about the lessons is the allocation compared to the keyhole?
Yeah, so.
Since that's never quite been spelled out clearly.
Yeah, so we got direction from the council.
Oh, you
on
did?
it.
Okay.
Yes, well, when they approved the redo of the court to accommodate the 4 courts.
Yeah.
It created additional space which allows for the potential, for the opportunity of lessons.
Okay.
And so we did ask the council to provide us with guidance on what we wanted to do, and so we can have that conversation
Was that,
with the committee.
was that only to allow Michael to do the lessons?
No, there was an opportunity for others, but there was a registration. And so I said, I can get into that outside, this is.
Okay, yeah. Just come back to us next month and let us know whether something's been worked out with Michael and what you guys have all collectively agreed on.
So, Robert, I'll reach out to you just to understand exactly what that is, and we can
Sir,
see where that goes from there.
And then for the, I have been talking with, Bob separately about kind of the tennis, tennis time, because, certainly say on Saturdays when, there's been 4 courts being used by Michael regularly, and then 1 court being used by pickleball. The tennis players are left with just 1 court to use. And Saturday mornings tend to be very popular, which is why 4 courts are being used by Michael. I want to talk to Bob sometime. I haven't had a chance to talk to him about, what is the ideal usage for them and whether we can work out something with Player Capital, because I think way back when we used to have in our contract with Player Capital, it said Saturdays, they only get 3 courts.
I think that was only when things were getting established, so. If there is a subcommittee, if it's you and Bob, happy to have conversations as to the best way to have that conversation circulate and figure out a way to accommodate the conversation with Player Capital, just so that you're aware, is that we manage a contract with them.
Yeah.
Having others go
Yeah,
around
which
and
is-
ask if and what there's.
Which is why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
And was wondering, is there a hard limit to how many, they could use all 6 if they wanted to?
Right now, there is no hard, as far as I recall.
So they could use all 6.
It's not appropriate that they do that, but it's probably appropriate that as we have further conversations, that there may be a way to open for adjustment of a formal adjustment of the contract.
Okay.
It's probably the best
And we
way
can
to
always
tackle that.
discuss it informally, saying like, hey, at this time of day, at this time of week. Because
And we
how-
can certainly have another again, this is kind of off topic, so.
Yeah, well, no, it's about the tennis and pickleball.
So, what I would suggest is that if there is a lot of complaint about how much court usage he has, we can have a conversation about we're getting public complaint,
Okay.
which may leverage that to him scaling back.
Okay.
It may be, Alex, that there's a system where he can use 4 after allowing, after reserving 3, and then see if anybody wants a 4th.
Yeah.
Because I look at the usage, and there's a lot of time there where they're not being used at all. In other words, he's not taking time from anybody because even the other court that would be available is not being used anyway.
Take a look at Saturday morning.
And so the question would be, is he waiting until others reserve or don't reserve?
He generally doesn't, because he gets like set up to 7 days ahead of time,
Well, but
and he has to,
that would be the proposal. Wait and do 5 days ahead of time if you want the 4th one on a Saturday.
I'm not sure he can book lessons that way. Because he can't, how can he sign a client and say, we might be able to get this court, but we have to wait till 5 days
That's his
before.
issue. I mean, see, because otherwise you're saying, let's take it away from him entirely, which is difficult, because of course Saturday's a big day.
Well, yeah, everyone wants to play on Saturday.
Right.
Okay, I'll talk with Bob
Okay.
separately and we'll keep with Robert.
Yeah, you and Robert.
Is there anything else on the football tennis, something?
Bob is,
Rosa?
Oh.
our other committee member. It is Robert, but
Okay, when you keep saying Bob, I'm like, wait, who? Robert?
that's Robert.
Robert, that's,
No, that's Robert.
he goes by Bob?
He goes by Bob.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks.
No problem. And it's better that way because then we don't
Yes,
confuse
it's not
you with
really
Bob.
like Bob, yeah.
Okay, let's move on to item 5, the event manager. So this is mostly just an update. With or Robert.
Yeah, I'll just, so the council selected, Cheetah Little Caterer, and authorized us to enter into a contract with them. We are in the process of, writing up the contract and the scope, and we got a little clarity from council at the last meeting to make sure that we're clear on a couple of those items with regards to occupancy, and limitations before requiring, city manager's authorization. And so those will be incorporated
Say the
into
name
that
again?
agreement. Cheat a Little Catering, they're based in Burlingame.
Cheat, CHEAT.
Yes, and so for reference, they actually do provide a similar service for the city of, sorry, not in the city of San Mateo, for the San Mateo Garden Center. And so they manage the rentals there, so it's a similar type of arrangement that they've been taking on.
Would it be too soon to meet with them in April or they?
Probably so.
Okay.
I think we need a
But-
contract signed.
We need a contract
Well, it's
signed.
still a month away, right?
Yeah, so I think that the soonest I'd recommend is probably May, but I check with them as they kind of get their feet wet.
Okay, sure. So if we can, let's put them tentatively for May and then we'll check to see if they're available then.
And you might let us know, well, just when the contract's signed, that'd be great.
Well, I'm sure we'll ask for an update next month and they'll let us know.
Well, hopefully it'll be executed.
Yeah, if it's not been executed, then something's going wrong. Okay, are there any questions on this item? Any comments, any public comment? Seeing none, why don't we move on to?
I actually have something to add on.
Oh, go ahead, Will.
It's, about a month or so ago, the Atherton Arts Foundation, Linda met with Robert and I.
Okay,
They put a donation down to add a picnic table at the park. Inside your packet is a picture of kind of the picnic table. It's gonna be ADA compliant. I also put a picture of the location that Robert, Linda, and I observed for the best location for it. There will be some modifications to the ground there. We have to make it ADA compliant, so we're gonna remove a little stuff and add some DG or some material so a wheelchair can be accessible up there. My question was just to get some feedback from you guys, see if the location is good for you, so we can move forward.
Nodding your head, you're good?
I gave that baby to Linda,
Okay,
and Linda said she was happy with it.
That's good.
Well, so I mean, our procedure is that any donations at the park kind of come to you
Yeah.
first. This acceptance, I think, is within the city manager's authority, so it doesn't need to go to council, but the recommendation from the Park and Rec Committee is needed before we move forward to that next step.
I approve taking the money.
For the picnic
For the
table.
picnic table.
Would any picnic table or bench then be within George's purview, and so we wouldn't see that?
One more time?
You said. this
No,
one-
so their donations, either if they're below a certain level, get accepted by George or by the city council.
What level is that?
It's in the donation policy, I
Because these
forgot.
are
what the-
all, we did that donation policy, and there's a substantial cost to all these, because you have to.
Yeah, so if I recall
Maintenance, too.
correctly, this one here is around 3,500
Yeah,
or
it was
something like that.
3,200.
32 is what I
3,200.
think the check was for.
I forgot what the dollar amount is that has to go to city council, so, it's with the recommendation from the Park and Rec Committee, it's up to the discretion of the city manager to accept it. And basically authorize us to do the work.
Do you need us to vote?
That would,
Okay,
we need a recommendation from the Park and Rec
Okay.
Committee,
do I have a motion? So it's a 3,200 donation, 3,200?
something like that. It's just the picnic table,
Okay.
whatever's it's in the donation schedule.
Okay, I move that we approve the donation of the table.
Do I have a
A
second?
second,
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do you need a roll call or?
No.
No, okay. Any abstentions or nays? Hearing none, unanimous.
Oh, before the vote, did you want public comment?
Do we have any public comment?
No public comment from me.
Okay,
Uh,
so,
Sorry,
it's okay,
we're supposed to ask.
yeah. Okay,
Thank you from Atherton, it's been nice that
Yes.
the meeting was going and I said I'd find out.
it's passed.
Who picked the table, Dorothy?
The town,
Well, the town did?
yeah, we didn't have a
This is what we
choice.
want for consistency now.
Yeah, we have the standards in the guide. This is just it's a stretched out picture.
Yeah, the picture.
Picture's not
It's gonna mirror.
perfect.
It'll mirror the picnic tables in the.
So it's intended to show you that it's got the ADA extension so that somebody in a wheelchair can go into. And so it's similar to the
To the ones on.
ones at the children's play.
I think,
Picnic table, the children's picnic area,
Yeah.
it's gonna be like that.
Speaking of which, how's that project going? Oh, I guess it's not on the agenda,
it's
so
not on the agenda.
we can't talk about
If we
it.
want to.
Brightview quality site assessments.
The QSA is in your packet, if you have any questions, please let me know.
Are there any questions or comments? Any public comment? No? Okay. Okay, well, we'll move on to the Park Foundation report.
French not there.
Well, we have his alternate.
Okay, by way of default.
If none, we can skip it.
We have had a foundation meeting and people were very interested in the carriage house. Bill Widmer's our representative and he kind of led the discussion about how important it is to maintain that historical building. He suggested, Rick, that we look at ERAF money as a possibility
What is
for
that?
funding of some extent.
what is
Oh,
that?
It's one of the revenue sources for the town.
It's revenue that comes in below the line. Because we can't count on it every year, although it comes in so far every year. It's about $2.5 million in total.
And it comes in basically as from our tax money, from the property tax money that would go to education, but we don't need it. Isn't that right?
It's complicated.
Okay.
It's, the state took the money and then reimburses the money. So it's a delayed payment,
Yeah.
essentially.
Okay. So anyway, that was probably the main discussion as we look at things. We also discussed the fountain, which unfortunately has algae problems after we spent all that effort. So Frank has gone to, again, to a lot of extent, found something he thinks can be put in there to kill the algae. So we have our beautiful fountain again. It has 4 coats on it of some metallized paint. And so far, it doesn't seem to be able to fight the algae very well.
Did it have the algae problem before?
I don't think it's, I think it might be an interaction with the water and the paint.
Oh, it's just that algae.
Yeah, I don't recall it being a problem in the past.
Yeah, so
Well,
like I say, it's well, I'm saying
It's well watered.
it's well water, it's circulated, it's filtered. So we have a filtration system there. And so our speculation is that there's some kind of interaction that's happening.
Okay.
For $40,000 fountain, it should not have algae. My personal opinion.
Nobody told me algae on the dirt. Okay, is there anything else in the foundation? Okay, thank you. Park division and events report?
On the event reports, we had a couple rentals over the month. One of them was Sacred Heart School. They rented out all the facilities. And another private party. Revenue for the month was about $7,000. As far as park report, Tennis court usage is all there, it's pretty much in line every month, we dip down a little bit with pickleball, just a few hours, but nothing major. At the park, working still with the fountain, the playground pump, been an issue for a long time, we've been checking on that. We posted signs in there, but we've had some issues with diapers and other things being flushed out as toilets, and that pump's not made for that. There's been some issues with backup and problems. The baseball fences have been installed at the park, so the Little League is starting to work out there. Gilmore House, we put some path lighting and just did some light repairs at the preschool. And that was about it for the park report.
So when the Sacred Heart rents out the whole park, what exactly are they renting all?
They rented out all the facilities, so they rented out the main house, Jimmy's Pavilion, and the carriage house,
Okay.
North Meadow.
But not the exterior, sorry.
Yeah, not like, I
So
mean,
people can still.
everybody's there, yeah, it's just the groups of kids, they do like little activities and stuff like that.
Okay, and then I noticed last month, when they did, so they're renting it again this month, right, in late March, I saw what they rental for.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to Mike on that.
But last month when they rented out, they only paid about $2,900, so, which is pretty low for renting out all three facilities. Is it like, do we have a standard rate with them because they're,
I'll have to check with Michael, I don't
Okay.
know.
yeah, how long did they rent it for, like all day or?
Yeah, it was pretty much an all-day event, yeah.
Yeah, that's really low for all day, because normally that
I'm not
probably,
sure what the
probably
rate is.
at least five
But
figures.
they are residents. Sacred Heart
Yeah,
residents.
yeah, so I was wondering if, why, even as a resident rate, that's, if you're 8 hours for 3 bedrooms all day is.
That's pretty.
I mean, it's less than, there was another rental that same month, they paid more, and they were only renting it for 4 hours. For one venue, so that was kind of, I thought. So, yeah, it would be good to find out what exactly and why they got charged that rate, so.
And just to piggyback on that, with concerns to the carriage house, I did meet with Coast Lighting today. We looked over the lighting issues inside there. Right now, we have 6 fans that are on top of the carriage house with very minimal lighting. We have broken glass and other issues. I think if they said that it's like 1,000 lumens or something like that. Recommendations, they're gonna give me 3 different proposals. One of them is to replace all of them with the same kind of fans, but higher lumens, because it does get very muggy and hot in there during the summer. But it would be almost double the light, so it would go from 1,000 lumens to 2,000 lumens. Other option is to keep a couple fans and then put some chandelier type or some kind of fixture of just light, so you have a couple fans and then like 4 fixtures of light, which would brighten up the light. The other thing is we noticed a whole bunch of junction boxes and stuff on there about maybe installing track lighting. That was the other option. So they're gonna give those all to me, and once they do, I'll present them to you guys, so we can talk about.
This is for the carriage house.
This is for the carriage house, yeah, improve the lighting there.
Okay,
And that's it.
are there any questions or comments?
It looks to me, Will, like these theater games, people are there every week.
Inside the carriage house, yeah.
This carriage house only says it was rented one time in February.
Well, that has nothing to do with the
Class fees.
classes. That's just a rental.
Yeah, they're
That was part of it.
$40 an hour, right?
That was just part of the rentals for Sacred Heart, because they rented out each one of those.
Yeah, the town as a
So that
staff,
doesn't show in how many times the carriage house was rented?
because it's a class, it's considered a separate rental.
Because it's ongoing.
Yeah,
It's not a part of the rental revenue, right?
but basically every hour you see, just multiply it by 40, that's.
Well,
how
once
much.
you get beyond that, we don't have a lot of use of
Yeah.
these facilities.
Well,
Um,
this weekend is the All Women's Art Show
Oh, yeah.
and honoring of
International
International Women's
Day and Mother's
Day, which is this Saturday. We have 15 artists.
And
12
you're,
to 4, Saturday and Sunday. Come on by.
And thanks to Will and Ruth for hauling the stuff. Only about half the amount of stuff is November.
thank you, Dorothy. Next month, I think I moved some stuff off the agenda because I knew this was a long meeting. And we probably wouldn't get through our full agenda, but next month we'll have our capital projects recommendation to council. think about that. I think we're gonna have our compost hub discussion.
Yes,
Yeah, okay, and then are we also gonna discuss EV chargers?
I'm not sure, maybe, yeah.
Okay. Maybe we might discuss EV chargers. Okay,
And then next month, we'll also have our landscape walkthrough.
oh, and that's
Prior
it,
to
okay,
the-
so,
Five
be
o'clock.
prepared to eat again.
Yeah.
You start at 5 at the park, right?
Yeah, 5 in the park,
Just
yeah,
like out in front of the art room in the
Yeah, just,
parking
yeah.
lot.
exactly,
We'll walk through the landscape. This will just be landscape.
Yeah.
yeah, outside of,
Can I ask a question about,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't even know where to put it. So, a fence around the dumpster, is that something that we can put into the master plan, or is that something I have to bring up at another?
I mean, so yes, we could put that in the master plan.
Right.
We can
That's
discuss it next week when we have our final capital
Oh,
project.
yeah, and especially
Okay.
as you go walk through.
And
And then the other
the
one-
walkthrough, you can make a mention, and then, I don't know, maybe Will could ballpark what he thinks it might cost. And then we can recommend as a capital project, and then if the council wants to do
And
it.
then the other one, which we'll see when we walk through, is the suggestion to replace the wire dog on leash signs with something more permanent, because they all fall down. So maybe not as many as the temporary ones, but, you know, the temporary ones just that are on wire, just, we might as well get a couple of permanent dog must be on leash signs. It's just a suggestion, rather than keeping.
Something we can talk about when we do the landscape walk.
Okay, sounds good, okay, motion to adjourn, do I have one?
I adjourn.
Second.
Okay, done.
Walk through